We have risen from the ashes to school the masses. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Scholars of Wrestling Show, episode 425. I'm your man behind the microphone, Scholar Jeff. Joining us this week is the OG Undisputed Scholar himself. He is Scholar Tarek. Scholar Tarek, how is life treating you, sir?
Life is treating me very well, sir. Thank you for asking. I may not have walked out this weekend with any of the belts, but it really doesn't matter to me anymore. I'm just here now for a fun time and just seeing how it affects everyone else on the Scholars of Wrestling, including my Undisputed Scholars tag team partner, the reigning, defending, undisputed Scholars of Wrestling heavyweight champion of the world, Scholar Brian, which is kind of sad that he can't join us tonight. So before we continue with the introductions, I just have one quick thing. Since Money in the Bank is our next prediction show, both Brian and I decided that we're both going to just decide to go against each other for the Scholars of Wrestling Heavyweight Championship of the World at Money in the Bank, while the rest of you gentlemen go for the Scholar in the Bank briefcase.
But why you?
Because we were supposed to have a one-on-one title match at Night of Champions, but because Charlie keeps forgetting to cash in the briefcase last year, so he's like, okay, let's get him that briefcase off him. Title match at Money in the Bank. Yeah, all right. That was generally our discussion.
So that's the logic. Oh,
Of course.
We'll get to that.
Hey,
I'll address that in just a moment. But you guys are
eyeballing us, but eyeballing this announcement. But hey, considering that I basically was inches away from winning both the Scholars of Wrestling Heavyweight Championship and the Party Championship this past weekend, Undisputed Scholars can definitely go have a nice little friendly title match at the next event while you guys try and make your own mark by winning the briefcase.
Hey, if that's the way it's going to be, the battle lines have been drawn. But either way, it's been long enough. We have to also introduce the third member of our panel this evening. He is the coach. He is our guy. And he is our new Scholars of Wrestling Party champion. He is Scholar Jeremy. Scholar Jeremy, talk some nonsense at the man.
Your reigning and defending current Scholars of Wrestling Party champion, the coach is here. And Tarek, go ahead. Go have your little title match with Brian, because champ, I'm gunning for that belt. I'm still in the running. Next party, I'm cashing this baby in.
It's nice to actually see that championship on the show again.
Oh, don't you talk smack at me, fool. I am going to get that briefcase and I am going to use it. I will remember it, and the second I have a second.
Good luck trying to get the championship away from us. Good luck.
I do have one question, gentlemen. If, say, I win the briefcase and I have the party title, can I do a double cash in? Just go, give me that belt.
If an opportunity presents itself, presumably you could, in theory.
Oh, the power. It's all coming to plan.
Oh, boy. We're not even there at the show yet, and already the madness is beginning. But be that as it may, there's also enough madness in the real world before we even get to that. And we're going to talk about it all in a little segment we like to call Backstage News.
Indeed, we shall go ahead and do what we always do and like to peek behind that curtain. It's just going, oh, look at that. Look at all this. Checking in on some Backstage News.
News. We'll get the echoes right eventually. Meh.
I'll figure it out.
Does it really need to be perfect?
No, but actually I think we did pretty good on this one. But either way, there's your meh. We're at Backstage News. We're already there. And kicking things
Nice
off
hearing.
with a lot of backstage news this week, including the biggest one, arguably, of the week. We finally got confirmation that CM Punk is coming back to AEW on the first edition of their Saturday show. And oh boy, was that was one of the most mixed reactions from any crowd or audience I've ever heard. But I know you've got your own reaction. So yeah, Punk's coming back. Let me hear it.
Jeremy had a face palm, so he should have this first discussion on it.
All right. Okay. So, my opinion on Punk and everything that went down last year. When the announcement came up, my wife and I both looked at each other and were like, well, fuck. But I don't think it's a good idea. I know he makes money. I know he pushes merchandise. I know they're going to reignite the Punk MJF feud, but unless he's going to apologize and get his head out of his ass, I'm more worried this is going to be another friggin' disaster with his ego. Like, it's just, I've spoken to a lot of people, and when I was meeting Malachi Black, I met a guy who does like podcasts and stuff. In his personal opinion, he feels that if it was Vince McMahon and Punk, he would have fired Punk right on the spot after All Out. I feel the same way. I don't think Tony Khan should have brought him back. I just think, like I said, look, I'm always benefit of the doubt, but I just don't have a good feeling of Punk coming back unless he can get his ego in check. I just have a feeling it's going to go right back into the same thing of that Punk's going to end up in a fight. Something's going to happen. He's going to get suspended again. And here we go again to the races. But I can see the reason he brought him back is to push the money, really push names. But personally, I think AEW is so stacked. They have so much good talent. I don't think they needed Punk. I just personally don't think they needed to bring him back in. Like, you have enough big name talents where you don't need Punk to come in and try and like re-put your company on the map.
All right, what was your immediate reaction to this news of a Punk return, Fool? And what do you think? What do you make of all this? Is it a good idea or is it a bad idea?
I guess to answer that question is kind of a repeat of what Jeremy just said. It's just depends on how his attitude reflects on just how he presents himself character-wise and how he presents himself with the rest of the roster backstage during Collision tapings. The second they announced that the first episode is going to be in Chicago, it was a no-brainer that Punk is going to be there. After the whole question if whether or not he's going to be there in the first place before they announced the first episode. My big question on it with on-screen presentation wise is it's clear as day Punk is going to get the biggest babyface reaction in the front of the Chicago crowd. What I'm really focusing on is what's going to happen the next week when they're out of Chicago. Is he going to have a similar reaction? Is he going to just constantly get booed? Is he going to basically become another MJF character where he's a baby face in front of Chicago and a heel in front of the rest of the world? That's the question. And it's really a big toss-up considering that the AEW crowd are us hardcore fans, the people who follow the backstage news, who follow the wrestling news, Fightful, wow, why am I blanking out on Brian Alvarez and Dave Meltzer?
Wrestling Observer.
Wrestling Observer, thank you. I don't know why I blanked out on that. We all follow those news outlets. We know the Ace Steel fiasco that was pretty much delaying the announcement of it being in Chicago and Punk returning. As long as he is able to be professional and keep his personal feelings out of it, then it really shouldn't be a problem. But now knowing his history, and we were being hopeful when he came back to AEW initially. We're thinking, okay, he's grown up, he's hopefully matured, and it just showed after the backstage brawl at All Out. It just showed, yeah, he hasn't changed. He's still a big ego. But yeah, as Jeremy said, he is a money mover. He sells tickets. He gets TV ratings. He just really has to get his ego in line, make peace with everyone, with all the people backstage that he has issues with. And as long as he can do that, then by all means, come in. But if he's still going to be a big ego and just be a whiny brat and start fiascos backstage, then this is just a waste of time. As Jeremy said, there's talent that they can push to the moon. They have the Miros and the Andrades that they can have be the face of AEW Collision. So I'm being cautiously optimistic, but I won't be surprised if we hear something within a couple of months saying that he's causing more unnecessary high school drama bullshit.
Yeah, I would agree that there's definitely a way forward for Punk. I definitely join you on that cautious optimism bit. I want to see it all work out. I want to see everyone check their egos at the door and just calm the hell down. I think there's a good, strong chance that'll happen, but there's a good, strong chance that things could go pear-shaped as well. But before we move on, let's put this in the manner of a scholar's quick talk for a moment. Let's say you've got the pencil. You're booking the first episode of Collision in Chicago. How would you do it? What do you want to see Punk do? How would you carry it out?
You
I'd
go,
have him
Jeremy.
start
I
the
got to think
show.
about this.
No, it's fine. You're good. Thank you. No, I'd have him start the show like he did last time, but don't make the fans wait. Have him I would say instead of building the anticipation or see like what could happen, have him start the show and see what the reaction is. I know he's going to get a hero's welcome, but let him get the hero's welcome. Let the fans cheer, and then let's see what he's going to do. Whether he's going to apologize, if he's going to be like his regular Punk self, and he's going to be like all pissy and stuff, or be like, it's away, but have him start and let's see what he's going to do. He's going to go after MJF. It's undeniable. But all I can say is, Brad, Tark, I do like how you said with you being cautiously optimistic. If he does turn over a new leaf, we'll see what happens. But if he's going to be a brat as usual, I'm sitting 7th row, July 22nd in Newark. I'm pushing up front. If he walks near that barricade, he's going to get one of those. He's acting like his usual self.
You bring a sign with you just saying "Grow up, Punk."
I would do it. I'll do it.
That I actually want to see now.
I'll get the markers in the board.
I will say, even this crowd reaction yesterday, time of this recording, it was yesterday. I believe they were in Young Bucks territory. So of course it's going to be it was a very mixed crowd. It was, I believe, from what fans have been posting who are at that show, it kind of was like 70-30 pro and con, but the 30 con, it kept the booze going, while the 70% cheers didn't last very long, and a very light CM Punk chants. So there really is no real knowing on how the AEW crowd is going to be post Chicago, like how Jeremy, like in Newark, or I wish I had the listings on where the next tapings of Collision.
Aren't they doing a Canada tour?
I don't know. Like I said, I have to pull out the list. It could possibly, and it would be very interesting with a Canadian crowd, actually, since Canada's like the most hardcore fans on this side of the world.
Yeah, the only thing I can see that would work in the long term would be just to turn CM Punk heel right out of the gate. Like maybe bask in the whatever cheers he's going to get in Chicago for a little while, and then just depending on the reaction he gets, maybe delay it a bit, but ultimately, hopefully, he'll get his apologies in. That's best case scenario in my mind. But even after that, I feel like the only way to adequately deal with any of this, any of the boos that he will get, he's always going to get something. But in this particular case, I feel like the most clear path forward to just so they don't run into any real problems long term is just full on turn him heel the first night, whether it's right out of the gate or maybe it's towards the end of the night. Turn him heel, let him do his thing. He can obviously do it, and they can just as easily pick up where they left off, do the big money feud with him versus Hangman, him versus Elite, have him team up with MJF, do whatever you need to do to make the best of this time while you got Punk, even if he's not the universal super face that he was when he going in. But again, like you guys said, I'm being cautiously optimistic. It's in Punk's hands now.
Like I said, I can see them doing the MJF treatment where when he's in his hometown of Chicago, he's going to be the baby face and basically stick his finger to the rest of the world. That's what I see happening. He's basically like, "Oh, I'm so glad to be back here in Chicago. I wish it would be here in Chicago every week instead of having to be everywhere else where there's a bunch of whiny little bitches." Thinking, "Oh, hopefully he'll turn and leave. I can do whatever the fuck I want." That type of ordeal. Basically be like, I love you guys, but this is to the rest. This is to everyone else. That's where I see him going.
But it is
And
gonna
then we'll have the Step Brothers with him and MJF just name your. It's like, what's your favorite dinosaur? Did we just become best friends? Yep.
Yep.
Oh my God.
Well, we're gonna have to wait and see, and hopefully we won't. Thankfully, we won't have to wait too long to see where they're all going to go with this and what Punk will do in the end. But we won't have to wait even sooner before we see another new development. Just breaking tonight. We're recording this on Thursday, and Fightful.com is releasing a report saying that supposedly WWE is going to unveil a new title belt design for the WWE Universal Championship on tomorrow night's SmackDown. So as a matter of fact, you might even know for sure by the time this goes up and airs. By the time you're seeing this, we will know for sure if the rumors are true and what this new belt looks like.
My response to that, because this is the first time I'm hearing it was when you first told us what's going to happen, us discussing on this episode, and
yeah, it just broke.
Us discussing the episode. Yeah, this is the first time hearing it. And my initial response is, well, better late than never, because let's be honest, that he may be holding two belts, but that championship has been one championship for a very long time. At this point, there's just really no point in him having two belts. And as long, it's like, I've never really been that huge a fan of the Universal Championship anyway. So having that championship merge with the WWE Championship to be essentially an updated version of the WWE Championship, okay, I'm all for that. We can finally stop just talking about, oh, the new World Heavyweight Championship is just the third heavyweight championship in WWE. Now we're just basically fixing certain aspects of the brand split. Yeah. No more undisputed Universal Heavyweight Championship Roman Reigns, because now there's a second championship. So yeah, you can't be disputed. Yeah, as long as it's not just another WWE logo and it actually has a design similar. Well, not similar, but just the fact
Comparable.
that it's the one thing I like about the new World Heavyweight Championship. It's just essentially it's the big gold belt with just a big WWE logo in the middle. Hopefully it'll be something similar to that, where it's like maybe since it's like the WWE Championship, just an updated version of the winged eagle, just a big WWE logo with the eagle over it and with the world behind it. World behind the logo, big eagle behind him on top of it. That would be very fun to see.
So kind of like one show has like their equivalent of the WCW style belt, and then from the Attitude Era, SmackDown was essentially the Attitude Era style belt.
Exactly, but just
very interesting.
But just similar, but like the World Heavyweight Championship, it's just WWE logo. I guess that's supposed to be the world behind it, or just the circle behind it. But instead of the design similar to the big gold, it's just a sign similar to the winged eagle or big eagle, whichever.
I'm going to make a bit of a bold prediction right now. Again, we're recording this on Thursday, the day before this unveiling is said to be happening. What if, in terms of belt design, what if it's a fusion of the old World Heavyweight Championship, like the Brock Lesnar era belt that everyone seems to like,
oh yeah,
but with a couple extra designs to almost make it look like a fusion of that and the NWA title, where it's almost like oblong or like square like, but not quite. It's still its own design, but it pulls on those aesthetic similarities to other very well loved classic belts. Am I making sense?
You do. I will say I do like, this is something I've actually talked about before with you guys off camera, and I believe I mentioned this on camera, that I do like the shape that they're using for the current WWE Championship. I just don't like that it's just a big WWE logo in it. I like it's like how it was similar to the NXT UK Championship. Same shape as the current championship, just, the winged eagle-esque design in the middle of it.
I can see that working, definitely.
Although it's a very interesting that they of referencing the NWA Championship. That would be interesting, but I don't see them pulling something closer to that, especially since that championship is still around, and have a certain,
can't have it being too close for comfort. I get it.
Exactly.
In that case, since we're all predicting belt ideas right now, if you had to take a guess, Jaybird, to see like what this new unified belt on SmackDown, if they are doing something like that, how do you think it will and should look like? What do you think?
I personal opinion, I will say I do like the idea of the fusion with the NWA title. Personal opinion, I don't like the NWA title's look. Call me a blasphemer, whatever you want. I always thought that belt looked ugly. Personally, not a fan of it at all. Sorry,
I can see it being an acquired taste and a relic of a very different time. Just, it's one of the oldest belt designs in modern wrestling history. I disagree with you, but I can't blame you that harshly for it either.
I have to applaud that design has been around this long. How long has it been now?
Oh boy, that's like
60s to 70s, maybe. I'm 70s, I think.
That's a safe bet.
I would say the 60s, it's like, you guys just think, how many WWE championships have been around with the NWA Championship? Woo! Quite a while. Now I'm looking it up.
I'm looking it up right now. While Jaybird's looking up his or trying to determine his thing.
But personally, I like what you both said. I would like an updated Brock Lesnar Undisputed Championship belt. That I would be down for. Personally, I like the Big Eagle belt, personally, from the Attitude Era over the Winged Eagle, just because I grew up watching WWE as a kid, seeing the Winged Eagle seeing the Winged Eagle design, but seeing the Big Eagle is always the belt I've always cherished as my personal favorite. Like update that version, put like um I'll be honest, put the Big Eagle, put World Wrestling Entertainment in the center, and then Tarek said, just put like the W logo like in the background, or have the Big Eagle sitting like the eagle sitting on top of, instead of the world, have it sitting on top of the WWE logo. Something like that.
And to answer the question, the title itself has been around since 1948. The
Okay.
current design of the belt has been around since 1973.
Whew.
Okay, there we go. I
Jeez.
was in the ballpark. 73, dang.
Wow.
And
That's the old saying of if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So
this is just from
Wow,
the
50 years.
Wikipedia page. This is just from the Wikipedia page. Oh boy. Here's some crazy statistics right here. The first champion was some guy named Orville Brown.
Orville.
that's
Okay.
way past my time. Well,
Yeah. I
I'm
never even
way
heard
too
of
young
this
for that
dude.
one.
The most reigns was Ric Flair with 10. The longest reign was Lou Thez with 2,300 days as champion.
I was, yeah. Back then, you could have title reigns like that.
Shortest reign, Shane Douglas with less than a day.
Yep, throwing it on the ground.
The oldest champion was Tim Storm, who I believe, is still around today. The youngest champion, Chris Candido, who was only 22 years old when he had it.
I forgot
And,
about that. Yeah.
and the heaviest champion is the current one, Tyrus, at 375.
Oh
I
yeah.
didn't
Still
realize
can't
that dude
believe-
was like 400 pounds.
I still can't believe he's champion.
Given the history and what I believe he's going for, I get why people wouldn't like this choice, but given where his head's at, it kind of makes a certain degree of sense, even if you or I don't agree with the pick. I get what he's going for.
Ah,
I know. I think I get where everyone's coming from with Tyrus. Like at this point, no
Yeah.
one needs to say a thing. Like I get it. But all that aside, with title belts alone and just the lineage, the belt is one of a kind, and hopefully this new belt design, that if we are getting one, will be something a little less gaudy than what we've had in the past, or the recent past rather.
now
But-
work on the women's championships.
I like this old saying goes, big gears grind slowly. And if they're doing it this way, I would not be shocked if we see a women's championship belt redesign in the near future. But speaking of champions, we did have a plenty of wrestling shows this past weekend, including the latest Saudi Arabia show from WWE. We had Night of Champions, and I don't know about you, but I think we saw some pretty interesting stuff. I think it was one of the more powerful shows we saw out of Saudi Arabia. The least of which not being an excellent tag team main event where Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn defeated the Usos, defeated Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa with interference from the Usos. It finally happened. I don't know about you, but I did not expect to see this on the Saudi Arabia show of all places.
I will say this, in my personal opinion, was the best Saudi Arabia show that they've ever done.
Agreed.
I look at this show from top to bottom. I actually rewatched it in preparations for the show, and it was actually better the second time. From top to bottom, they delivered and over delivered. This was a show that just meant something. It wasn't just the typical glorified house show that we've always described Saudi Arabia shows to be. From the opening match for the World Heavyweight Championship, which I feel like it could have been, that match could have been in a better spot, but considering how the show ended and how WWE always looked at the opening matches of premium live events as an equivalent to the main event, this makes perfect sense to open the show with this, with Seth Rollins and AJ Styles. And they delivered. They put on an amazing match. It was just so much fun watching. If there was any weak point in the show, I probably would give it to the Bianca Belair Asuka match, but that's only because I felt like it was a little too long. Maybe if you just shaved a minute or two out of this one, I probably would have enjoyed it a lot more. But I like the surprise and the clever strategy that Asuka went to actually, well, prove everyone wrong that predicted Bianca Belair to win. And hopefully that this title reign is actually going to legit mean something afterwards. It's not just a simple Asuka's the champion, but she's the third wheel for the feud. Like, she's not even like the main focus, which is something from her history of being women's champion. I guess I'll go more on other matches as we get to them, but I don't want to take full on this
it's
one.
all right.
I want to hear
with
what
this
you guys
one.
thought about like the Seth Rollins AJ Styles, or what match was a big highlight for you of in general, not.
I'll tell you what, I really hate to say this, but I feel like I'm glad the Seth Rollins AJ Styles match opened the show, since I really wasn't surprised by that at all. It was actually a bit of a low light given how predictable it was. Not that it was bad, it was just exactly what we expected. But like you mentioned with Asuka and Bianca Belair, that I did not see coming. That one, in terms of just like things that stick with you, that was probably the one moment that stuck with me and surprised me the most. That, and maybe Trish Stratus showing up and having such a strong appearance against Becky Lynch and beating her, especially after interference from Zoe Stark of all people. I was hoping for good things for Zoe Stark, but I didn't expect that one.
I definitely agree. Like Seth Rollins and AJ Styles is a good way to open the show. And I feel like it was the best Saudi show as of now, because I've tried to watch the previous ones and they suck. I'm sorry. They're not good booked shows with good endings and big spots. But this one was very enjoyable through like Brock Lesnar and Cody. You had Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn versus Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa. You had Gunther versus Mustafa Ali. I thought it was an all-around solid show. I really like, and Asuka and Bianca, like, I'm not gonna lie, that shocked me. I'm like, okay, I probably just threw a pick away, but I stuck to my guns on that one, and I was actually very happy that Asuka picked up the win, because it kept me in the picture. And then we'll talk about Double or Nothing later, but still, yeah, that was just, I do agree with you, Brian. Asuka versus Bianca could have been a little shorter. I did like the sneaky tactics of Asuka. I just feel that the two kicks at the end were a little sloppy. That's the only complaint I have. The first kick was good. The second one to the back of the head was kind of sloppy, and then it just came out. Then it ended. I'm like, okay, you could have just done a better finishing move. But other than that, I thought it was a solid match.
All right. So all that being said, when we take a look at the entire picture, what kind of beard rating would you give this out of 5 stars? Would you give to Night of Champions?
I'm probably gonna give it like a 4.75 out of 5, which would be like not
That
a
would
full
be a
beard, but like
big, robust, full beard.
okay, I give it a big robust full beard.
That's
It was
funny.
good, but it's
That worked.
just shy short, just a little bit short of perfect, just because it could have been a perfect event, but I still just tweak it a little bit and it could have been perfect. So
Yeah, I really didn't want to give this a 4 out of 5 full beard. I just because I'm not used to thinking of the Saudi Arabia shows being this solid. There was enough surprises to keep it interesting. The matches themselves were perfectly sound, lasted for the most part as long as they needed to. I feel like I would lose credibility if I didn't give this show a full beard. Tark, what about you?
I will say, my favorite match was Gunther versus Mustafa Ali. No shock there. That was just I felt like that those two worked together very well with especially with the characters that they were given, with Ali being the small underdog versus the unstoppable force of Gunther. And those two worked beautifully together. They told a beautiful story together. And I can't, less than 100 days, man. What is it, 99 now?
You're
probably.
asking me.
Countdown
I
is
figured
on.
you had it
Bring
on
on
lock.
I think it's I lost count. The Trish Stratus and Becky Lynch match was just another great example of showing that although like Trish hasn't wrestled in a long time, but my God, this was one of her good performances. She shows that she actually can put on a really good match, being out of the ring for so long, and it gets Zoe Stark nice exposure having an established Hall of Famer or WWE Hall of Famer in your corner. It's kind of disappointing now. We're just gonna get disappointing from my point of view that we're just basically getting a Becky Lynch and Lita versus Trish and Zoe Stark in the future. Because that's something I kind of don't. I love Lita, but I don't think she really has that real impact anymore. But that's for future discussion. What we have now was just another great story. We now are putting in a new up and comer in a main event, in a somewhat main event story, the women's main event storyline. Great exposure and great way to raise up the credibility of a new young talent. And the main events alone was just cinema. From the intro to Roman Reigns to Sammy speaking in Arabic to the crowd. I'm just thinking, oh, imagine what happened if he was actually allowed to come in to Saudi shows beforehand. This definitely elevated Sami Zayn to the point where he is a main event star for WWE. This solidified it. And how that match went up with the Jimmy super kicking Roman after them trying to help. It is really good to see the Bloodline storyline back from the pause that it had for Backlash. This was a all-out perfect show for me. I can't honestly think really of a bad thing that I can like just say, oh, I didn't like that. No, I had a complete good time, top to bottom. this is a show I would actually enjoy watching again. I'm going to give it a goat face 5 out of 5.
Wow.
I
I did not see
Wow.
that coming at all. That's high
I legit
praise.
like I said, there was not a bad match. Hell, even Rhea Ripley and Natalya, 1 minute and 9 seconds. Yes, the match lasted 69 seconds. Ha! Because that match needed to be that short. Because nobody knew that no one cared about Natalya going after that the Smack. Is it the SmackDown Women's Championship? Yeah, she has the SmackDown Women's Championship. That match was just perfect, and it just needed to be that fast. I had so much fun with this show, and I absolutely loved it. It was just, it made me very, very happy with how it turned out.
Wow. Well, I guess that was definitely the trendsetter for the weekend, or at least the pace setter, rather. Excuse me. But as we all know, as we all got gathered together to see, we all were also followed very quickly by AEW Double or Nothing, which absolutely gave us all we could ever ask for and more in a wrestling show. At least all the wrestling we can handle in a given night. I'll tell you what, I really enjoyed the way this match kicked off, the way the show kicked off, rather, where it seemed like everything just kicked off with a bang, especially with the Blackjack Battle Royal, which was honestly way more exciting than I was expecting it to be. I was expecting good things out of a Battle Royal, but so many big names all coming to play. I really dug this one.
I
Oh yeah,
definitely agree.
the internet. Oh, you can go. You can go,
Okay.
Jeremy.
I definitely agree because I remember it starts up with the Blackjack Battle Royal and we're all like, wait a minute, really Battle Royal to start, but they blew it out of the water with that match. They did great storytelling. They kept a good pace, and the end. I'm sorry, but the ending where Cassidy just kicks Swerve's hand off the rope and him just falling back. Oh my God, I couldn't stop laughing. I've watched that ending like 5 times. It's just his arm reaction and his face reaction, like, oh no. Such good storytelling. And it did, like Jeff said, it kicked off Double or Nothing with a bang and we were off to the races.
Got something else, fool?
Sorry, the internet seemed to just slow
Oh,
down. So
okay.
I just hear Jeremy. I just
All
hear Jeremy
right.
going. That's what I was hearing. But I do agree. When Cassidy kicked Swerve, all I'm thinking is I'm hearing the Swerve falling and just going in slow motion, just going
Say it.
no. Huh?
I think you're about to reference something.
Probably not, but because all I'm thinking was him just going in extreme slow motion, falling. No, while you hear that music. No, I laughed. I couldn't stop laughing.
For a second there, I thought
And
you were going to reference Die Hard.
Oh God, there it is.
now that you actually bring that up, I'm actually disappointed in myself that I actually didn't make that connection. Good call, fool. Good call.
Hey, I gotta have at least one.
I actually now think Swerve is going to win the international championship next week.
I could see it. I could see it.
It's certainly more plausible after that kind of a performance. And that wouldn't be a surprise.
With now them actually having, now that they're actually having a storyline with Swerve and Orange Cassidy, it actually makes perfect sense. And hopefully we can actually get Keith Lee in a title storyline.
That would be delightful, but you know
I don't
what?
care if it's a mid-card title. Give that man something to do because Oh yeah, very much so. But yeah, it was although I will admit the beginning of the battle royal was very confusing, considering like people were fighting on the outside. It honestly kind of I was like, wow, I'm getting like reverse battle royal flashbacks here. When it comes to everyone fighting outside the ring before going in. Yeah, that was I love the international championship storyline. I made that perfectly clear. It's one of my favorite storylines in wrestling right now. And just now seeing what they did and where they're potentially going with it, looking forward to that.
Definitely. In terms of just sheer surprises, another match that really jumped out to me was everything that happened with Jade Cargill. Like some of
Thank
us, that was
God.
bizarre. Like, so I know some of us thought that Jade was finally going to lose it. I know a lot of people thought Jade was going to beat Taya Valkyrie. Turns out everybody was right. She beat Taya Valkyrie, and then Chris Statlander returns out of nowhere, and boom, we're done. New TNT champion TBS champion rather, at long last.
I was okay with it. Like, I'll be honest, I didn't win the Scholars title this weekend, but I could care less that friggin' Cargill finally lost the belt. Thank God. Thank God you pulled the trigger, Tony Khan. I couldn't take another week of like, it's that bitch show. It's Jade Cargill. Thank God. And then Chris had a really good her first title defense on yesterday against Nyla Rose, which I'm glad she finally got back on TV. So they're actually showing the belt is actually going to have some meaning now, other than sitting on someone's shoulder for 500 plus days.
Yeah, that was the so much about it, including her match with Nyla Rose, just felt like such a breath of fresh air, not just for the belt itself, but also for Chris Statlander. It's great to see her back.
Oh yeah,
I'm going to be a negative Nancy, but
Bring it on.
I'm
Bring on the negativity.
I'm super happy Jade Cargill is no longer TBS championship, holding the TBS championship. I'm glad Chris Statlander has it. I'm not a big fan of the execution. Honestly, I really got Hulk Hogan pinning Yokozuna vibes from this. I just didn't like, oh, I've had a long match. I can keep going. I can take on all challengers. Oh, I'm here. Beat you. I wasn't a huge fan of that, but I do agree that her match with Nyla Rose is a breath of fresh air, but she needs a long journey before I actually can give two shits about the TBS championship. But yeah,
fair enough.
If you're gonna put Chris Statlander in, just honestly, have the current match on an episode of Dynamite or Rampage, and then build up Statlander for actually build up a storyline with this. I don't know. I just didn't like that execution, but it's finally a relief to see Jade Cargill not have that championship.
That's fair, Tark, but I can counter it on that. I'm not gonna lie, like I get it, like do see the Hulk Hogan Yokozuna thing, but for me, I could like if Statlander came back as the next challenger, like I couldn't sit through another week of like the build up of Cargill versus I couldn't sit through it. I'm sorry. Personally, for them just pull the trigger was a good push point for Double or Nothing. Just my counter opinion. But I understand where you come from.
If that was going to be the case, then just when you saw her come into Tony Khan's office before they announced Collision in the first place, they should have done something between then and Double or Nothing. Because then what the hell is the point with the Taya Valkyrie feud? It was all pointless. Other than just fair. Now we're just getting it now. It's like, well, I warmed her up for you. Right? You wouldn't win the title if you wouldn't have won the title if Jake didn't have that match against me. I loosened her up for you. Right?
And we get a hit.
That's pretty much what I got.
Yeah, it's fair. I can see
where
you're coming from.
It just made that match. It just made the match for Double or the actual match completely pointless.
Yeah, it was a little disjointed. For me, the only thing that made it work was I appreciated this Chris Statlander win way more than I ever appreciated Hulk Hogan. But I get where everyone's coming from here. But on that note, I'm a little bit more curious right now to see how you like the other women's championship title change, because we did get Toni Storm going over and beating Jamie Hayter. One, I'm glad to say I called right, but what do you think of the execution of this? Was anything off about it, or was it about what you expected?
Did Jamie Hayter throw herself into the exposed turnbuckle to end the match? Because that's what it looked like to me.
It was a pretty
It
bad
looked like
match.
it looked like a very weak put. Like, did Toni Storm even push her? Like I said, it looked like she threw. It was just. It was a Christian Cage slamming himself onto the apron with Scott's. No, I'm supposed to throw you on it type of ordeal. But considering what they're with Jamie Hayter being legit injured, of course, it made perfect sense that this was going to be more of an angle than a legit match. It just made perfect sense, and minus the completely hilariously botched ending. Toni Storm winning the championship was the correct call. Now the Outcasts can be taken seriously. They're now the more successful version of what Damage Control was supposed to be.
I agree, definitely. It was a predictable ending. Sorry, it was a predictable match. I did like the execution. The who was it? Ruby Soho and Saraya beating up Jamie Hayter before the match. I thought it was fine. It wasn't too long. It didn't get dragged out, and I was perfectly fine with like Jamie Hayter losing. I kind of wish I got the point, but the way they executed, I thought was really well done, regardless of that ending. But still, I kind of liked how like she pulls the tape off, she does the big arm buff up, and then just she completely choked at the end, trying to go into the corner. I'm like, but I definitely think the way the match was handled was fine.
And then, of course, I think there was a lot of matches that really went sort of as we expected them to go. But I gotta say, even as late as this show went, the main event of the Blackpool Combat Club, Anarchy of the Arena going over the Elite, and with Kenny Omega getting pinned by Wheeler Yuta of all people after a crazy freaking match. I admit I was not a believer at first that this is the way it should go, but in seeing it in practice and how crazy and wild it got, made a believer out of me.
It actually made perfect sense. Oh,
after you.
Sorry.
No, I went first last time after you.
It actually makes perfect sense that Wheeler Yuta is the one to actually make the pin, because when you look at its storyline aspects, it was Wheeler Yuta that got pinned in the Ring of Honor tag team match, and Danielson was just basically get your ass in gear. Now we're trying to make the whole purpose of the Blackpool Combat Club is to make yourself better, and you're the one that got pinned. You're gonna have to train a lot harder to make yourself better, and having him be the one to actually secure the win made perfect sense. And they continued that with the 6-man tag that they had on Dynamite. It actually is helping making Wheeler make himself a better him. I actually love that I kind of saw the ending coming when I even told you guys when we were watching. I'm like, why is that cameraman completely covering his face? He's wearing a mask. And it turned out, yeah, that was Takeshita. And the whole question at the end of it was he joining Blackpool Combat Club? A part of me was just thinking, like, he's not, him and Don Callis are not celebrating with Blackpool Combat Club. They're doing their own celebration, while Callis and Takeshita are just doing their own celebration in the background. Are they actually joining one and the same? And it's looking like that's not at all the case. Looks like Callis is slowly starting his own faction, starting with Takeshita, I guess, as the main guy, like I guess the best way to put it, the Roman Reigns to his bloodline story, to Don Callis' bloodline, or to Don Callis' Paul Heyman. The anarchy in the arena was just so much fun. I know people are complaining about the exploding shoe and just
I thought that was great. I'm sorry.
I actually
I love the exploding shoe.
I geeked out on, like, that is so, oh my god, that was so cool. I think the only real downside, I'm not at the match, it's just when you have the anarchy in the arena and an unsanctioned match on, and the unsanctioned match actually kind of fell flat for me. I just, man, I know what you're gonna say, Fool, about how much you loved Sabu in the little time that he had in that match.
I was actually kind of disappointed, where I'm glad he went all Sabu all over the place, but then it's like I blinked and all of a sudden he was gone. Like, that's it?
Well, that's what happens when you jump off the top turnbuckle and through a table. You're dead.
But
that
it's
man
Sabu.
should not be taking
He's
that
not
kind of a
supposed to...
bump. How old is he now? He should not be taking that kind of a bump.
But Sabu, sir, Sabu.
And he died afterward because we never saw him again in the match. But I think the biggest highlight was Britt Baker and Saraya showing up at that point, leading to the intergender tag match at Dynamite, which, in my personal opinion, I thought was more entertaining than the unsanctioned match itself.
I actually do agree with you on that one. I highly enjoyed their match on Dynamite the following week.
And I will say, this is going to be a big shocker for you guys. I actually enjoyed a Christian match.
That's a first.
Huh.
Maybe it's just because he actually did very little in that one, and it was just mainly more of Wardlow and Luchasaurus doing mainly all the work. And I'm sorry, how Arn Anderson ran down to the ring had to have been one of the most funniest things I've ever seen.
Oh my god, he looks like a walrus.
This was legit him running to the ring.
You're not wrong.
I could not, and he literally was trying to bite off Luchasaurus's thumb. I'm just thinking, this old man is losing his goddamn mind, and it is one of the most sports entertaining things I have seen on this show.
Arn Anderson waddled down to the ring and bit a dinosaur.
No, oh my!
I love wrestling.
God, this is
what
oh my
year
god, it's gonna be a great
is it?
comparison. This is oh god, what's his name in shit, what is his name? What's his name in Good Burger? The old man.
Oh,
Abe Vigoda.
Abe Vigoda's character. What's his but you know, in the scene when they're escaping the asylum and they're running toward, and they're just running, and you just see Abe Vigoda like trying to run, but you just see him going that's Arn Anderson running to me. That's what immediately popped in my head when I saw him running down to the ring.
Are you gonna make our audience watch Good Burger again?
Do it. I mean, they're still working on a sequel.
Okay. Just checking.
Yes, watch Good Burger again.
This show was so good. We're gonna.
Now
make
I just want to get it. I just want to get a GIF.
Exactly.
If you find it again, post it on Twitter. If you find it,
I love that. I love Arn Anderson's run to the ring. That was a highlight of that. I think that's what made that match so much more fun. Funny enough, it's Christian that was the least entertaining thing for me, but not surprising at all.
Hey, you gotta maintain that track record somehow.
Mm-hmm.
But now, on the other side, now that we're looking at it in its entirety, what kind of beard rating would you give AEW Double or Nothing as a whole? Jay, let's pitch it over to you while while our undisputed scholar over here gets his giggles out.
I'd have to, okay, it gets a full goat face, 5 out of 5. And as of now, it is pay-per-view of the year. It was that good. It was that entertaining. And I got everything I wanted in that pay-per-view. I wasn't even mad that I didn't win the title this Sunday, but still, it was so good. They kept me entertained. And thank God, what did it end like 11:45, which I'm perfectly
Something
fine
like
with
that.
because that's fine. Because anytime I've seen AEW with a 15 match card, I'm just like, oh, here we go, 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning. But no, like they paced it. I remember Tarek asked near the end of the night, how many matches do we have left? And you're like 2, and I'm like, okay, that went faster than I thought. But still, 5 out of 5 go face for this pay-per-view.
Yeah, I'm not going to be quite that generous. I'm going to give this another 4 out of 5 full beard. Damn solid pay-per-view, damn good show. But again, I feel like the only places where it loses points are some of the outcomes were predictable. And this was just a really long show. You got your dollars worth for sure. But again, we were all watching in the same room together. I was a sleepy baby. I was losing it just because it was a lot of wrestling.
Arena. That was funny. We're sitting there, and all of a sudden you hear a couple of snores, and literally and all of a sudden I'm just like,
oh boy, I was snoring.
For like a split second, but it was just I'm sitting there, and we're just like,
Oh yeah,
oh my God,
you did snore a little bit.
that was funny.
Oh well, I'm a sleepy baby. I'm the lightweight of this group. Me and Charlie. If we don't get our sleepy buys in, I cannot be held responsible for what happens. If we keep taping late, I'm probably gonna keep G Fuel in business single handedly at the rate I'm going. But anyway, all that aside, 4 out of 5. Cool. What beard raging going with for this one?
I'm also going to give this show a 4 out of 5. It was a very, very, very good show. The one thing that really took it down for me was that crowd. This was not an AEW crowd in Vegas for me. They were invested in their interest was sprinkled throughout the show, but most of the time they just didn't care what was going on, and it actually hurt the show for me. Also, what also hurt the show for me was all the pre-show nonsense with Martha Hart.
Oh,
and
God,
just
okay.
that terrible,
Okay, I forgot about that.
promo. That terrible promo, and
all the cringe.
Her saying Tony Khan is gangster for wearing that hat that she was promoting, and oh my God, it was the most cringe promo I've ever seen. Ugh. And that 6-man tag between Ethan Page and the Guns versus Party, and poor Jeff Hardy. That was talking about how that was not easy to watch, and we were even saying while we were watching, like, is it me, or does Jeff just not seem there? He seemed really off, and once he got his hot tag, there was one point where I'm going, Jeff, please tag out. If you don't tag out, something bad is going to happen. And wouldn't you know it, he tries to run on the top rope, and he falls hard to the point where I have to. You have that car crash where you can't look away. This one, I had to look away, and because it was just, I like Jeff Hardy. I like what he's done for the wrestling business in general, minus, what was it, Bound for Glory, when he had his match against Sting?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that disaster.
That was
other than it just was really sad. I'm like, okay, if he wants to keep wrestling in the ring, he has to change his style. Thank you. he can't be a high flyer anymore, from especially since he's made it perfectly clear, like his back, he has bad back problems because of his years doing the Swanton Bomb. He has to change his style if he wants to continue in the ring, because he can't do what he used to do anymore. Otherwise, we're going to keep getting more shit like this, to the point where we're just thinking, okay, we can't do this. We can't watch him anymore, because it's just now sad. And not just like, oh, this is pathetic sad. This is legit sad, because we love this guy, and we don't want to see him put himself through this anymore, because we want to see him in a better place. And I feel like if he keeps doing stuff like this, he probably would revert back to the bad choices he made in the past.
Yeah.
But on the actual main show, because luckily that's the pre-show, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter when it comes to the facial hair ratings in the long run. When it comes to the show itself, audience aside, it was a really good show. If the audience was more invested, similar to how the Saudi audience was, because in my honest opinion, the Saudi audience for Night of Champions was actually a big factor that helped make Night of Champions so much fun for me. It's similar to how the Puerto Rican crowd was for Backlash. Granted, I think Puerto Rico was a better crowd, but Saudi was just as invested in the product as Puerto Rico. And Vegas just didn't have that. It felt like a typical Raw WWE crowd that just was not reacting to anything. And that's what hurt the show for me. That's why I would love to have made this another goat face, to be perfectly, and it could have been. But yeah, it just has to lower down. And honestly, it's kind of a low. It's a low full beard for me. It's almost just classic goatee type of show, because from the botched ending of the Jamie Hayter and my feelings on the Chris Statlander title win and the unsanctioned match was just not fun for me. Like I was expecting more, and I just didn't like the ending of just the referee stopping it. A low full beard. And I really hate to say that. For an AEW show, I was entertained, but I was also disappointed, because I know that they can do better, and they have done better. But sometimes they have good shows, sometimes they have bad shows. It's similar with WWE. Sometimes it's good shows, sometimes it's bad shows. It happens. But it just sucks, because from a great weekend of wrestling, and it just was like, oh, stick the landing. Oh, you're tripping a little bit. But you still landed.
Excuse me.
Bless you.
Thank you. But yeah, that makes all the sense in the world, and it makes for a very interesting group of reviews all across the board. But now is, of course, that time of the show where we turn it over to you, our fellow fans. Which one? What do you think was the better show of the afternoon, of the weekend? Did you like Night of Champions more? Did you like Double or Nothing, or did something else catch your eye? No matter what you think, we want to hear from you. So drop us a line anywhere on the internet. Oh, Battleground, we totally missed that. Heard again another. Really
I've actually heard really good things on that show. I heard it was a very good show.
Maybe you like Battleground? Let us know all across the internet, Facebook comments, YouTube comments, everywhere we're everywhere you want to be, including up close and personal on the Twitter machines. Fool, where can he reach you?
You can reach me at the Avataric.
And Jaybird, Party Champ, where can he reach you?
Reach the Party Champ at HeroHuey316.
And I can be reached at I'm Robbie Rage on Twitter. Join in the conversation, and for all of these social media links and more, just click the link in the description to our link tree. That's linktree/Scholars of Wrestling for more fun. And with that,
Very much, yeah.
Time to watch some SmackDown and find out if we're right about this whole belt situation. We're going to be watching it, but you already knew that because you know who we are. We are the Scholars of Wrestling, and you have just been schooled. You're welcome.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
See you all next time.